I kind of created this mantra for myself that I speak to myself almost on a daily basis. And it is, comfort will never get you to the place you want to be or the woman you want to become.
I am thrilled to bring you a visit with Kourtney Leigh. Kourtney is the founder and CEO of TINGE, a body beauty brand. And this visit, she talks about betting on herself and why she speaks TINGE, and more about the process of building this product and also redefining the culture in the beauty industry and within this brand. So I can't wait for you to hear from Kourtney. Kourtney Leigh. I'm not quite used to saying Kourtney Leigh yet.
So new.
You are newly married, but
Yes.
you are also here.
Yes.
And I'm finally getting to talk to you today about TINGE. You are the president and CEO of this company, and you're a powerhouse. And so
Gosh, you're so kind.
I am excited to dive into what TINGE is
Me
and
too.
more about you, and can't wait. But welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Nancy. I'm so excited to be here.
Good. So if you just kind of want to tell us a little bit about yourself and then also a little bit about TINGE so people can get an idea of who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So at my core, I'm really your everyday girl and beauty enthusiast turned entrepreneur. I studied entrepreneurship at Oklahoma State, and I'm still a diehard Pokes fan.
You know I'm going to say go Pokes!
Yeah.
Yes!
I love going back to Stillwater for game days and have had the opportunity to serve on the Spears School of Business Board.
That's awesome.
And also volunteer at Pi Beta Phi, which was my sorority. So it's just been really cool to continue to give back to the university that gave so much to me. So in business, I got my start just a few years back. I guess it's been more than a few years now. As a college student, I'm very curious by nature, which we talked about a little bit already. I've always been that way, and that's really what led me to study entrepreneurship. My mom's been the biggest role model in my life, and I remember senior year trying to decide, okay, what am I going to study? And I really had no clue, but my mom was the one who mentioned, well, OSU's just started the School of Entrepreneurship. You've always been about innovation. You're a very curious person. I feel like that would be a good start. And I really expected it to be just that, a starting point, and thought I would change my major a million times over. But the cards played out quite differently. Here I am, an entrepreneur, and ended up just like falling in love with the program and the curriculum and found so many dear mentors along the way. TINGE came to be honestly just over conversations between friends. I have always had this fascination with beauty and the way that it brings people together. You know, it seems for me to be a conversation with newfound friends and old, just like very naturally. And we got on the topic of body products. And in this conversation, I realized that the body category was saturated by 3 shades of tan. And this is in 2015, 2016. And I thought it was really interesting, again, going back to just my nature of curiosity, that the body category was saturated by 3 shades of tan, while the face complexion category, the new standard, was 40 plus shades. And so it just kind of had a light bulb moment, and I thought, that's a bit bizarre that the body category is light years behind. So took to Google, expecting somebody out there would be creating something and moving the needle in terms of innovation in the body category, and found absolutely nothing. But really just left it at that. It was the summer and I was like, that's interesting. Returned to university and had a capstone course called Imagination. And the professor, who became a dear mentor, started the semester and just said, okay, you've got a semester to develop a real life solution to a real life problem. And he said, it could be a real business, it could be make-believe, but you've got an entire semester to dive in and really build a business around it. And this problem came back to mind, and I really just couldn't shake it. And of course, like I said, I'm a self-proclaimed beauty enthusiast, but absolutely no experience other than being a consumer of beauty. And just remember thinking like, this is absolutely a problem, and it seems really obvious that there would be a solution. So had the opportunity to spend an entire semester just diving in and analyzing the body category as a whole, and saw a white space not just in the representation realm in body, but really in quality, care, and ingredients for body care overall, which, again, going back to my curious self, I found really interesting because I was here at this point of taking such great care and having, built out this regimen for the skin on my face, the skincare regimen, and even the makeup products I was selecting. But yet my body, the products that I was using on my body, which is 90% of my skin, were light years behind just in quality care and ingredients overall. So that semester really laid the vision for who we are today as a brand, which is, Tinge is a body beauty brand. So we're really looking to reimagine the body care category from skincare, makeup, and beyond. We got our start with the launch of the Tinge tint in April of 2021, which is essentially our take on what we say is a body makeup that doesn't look so made up. So again, going back to that initial light bulb moment of, wait a second, why isn't there an inclusive shade offering for the body beyond tanning products? And so we launched the Tinge tint in a range of 12 shades. It's the most expansive body makeup range in the category to date, and we've had so much fun just seeing how it's been embraced by consumers since. But we're really excited to continue pushing the needle just in reimagining the entire body care category. So we've got some exciting launches on deck.
Okay. I can't wait to hear more about that too. I do want to ask you about you personally, because you're such a positive person who I would say is very tenacious. You have a tenacious spirit about you. And I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about your superpower. And then you mentioned a mentor. And I was going to talk to you about the benefits, or if you had a mentor, and then the benefits of having a mentor. So if you could kind of share that with us.
Absolutely. So I would say my superpower, I really think, is my ability to lean into really challenging situations. And I would almost group that with like grit, resilience, mental toughness. I've really always been the type of person, both personally and professionally, that leans into super challenging situations. And I would say within the last handful of years, especially pursuing Tinge, I kind of created this mantra for myself that I speak to myself almost on a daily basis, and it is, comfort will never get you to the place you want to be or the woman you want to become. And I always love to just really lean into that and try to rate my success on how much I'm being challenged and therefore ultimately growing. And I think as a founder and CEO, you have to be so relentless. Being so relentless in execution and problem solving and finding answers. And in the early days, you're the only one. You're finding and you're working and you're leaning into challenges alone. And so I think I've really realized now in this professional world as an entrepreneur that the problems don't go away as you become more successful. If anything, that problem kind of curve gets even steeper. And so finding ways to really lean into challenging things, both personally and professionally, and taking the good out of the really hard and challenging and seeing how it's like shaping and preparing you for what's ahead is so powerful. So I would say resilience and grit is probably my superpower.
Mm-hmm. That's so awesome. So everybody hears no, but when you're hearing no, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
How do you take that? A door closes.
Yeah.
That's what I...
Yeah. That's so good. And I hear so many no's on a daily basis. And as a human, my gut instinct is like, that hurts. Mm-hmm. But I think I've almost become a bit numb to the no's because I've heard so many no's, and you just have to kind of digest it for what it is and let it go and keep going.
Do you accept it as a challenge?
Yeah.
Too?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've really found that, especially raising investment in capital as a female founder and a beauty founder and, the state of Oklahoma in particular with very traditional industries, definitely have to accept it as a challenge. But so many no's have led to the right yeses and the right open doors that if I hadn't received those no's, I don't know where we would be or what we would look like and what type of leader even I would look like. So a lot of really cool outcomes from the tough no's, but I certainly receive a multitude of them on a daily basis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That can be tough, but I think just, your approach is so needed and necessary if you are going to push yourself and you're going to make yourself
totally,
better and your company better.
Absolutely.
So I want to learn a little more about Tinge and the entrepreneurial journey. So if you could tell us the process about starting Tinge.
Yeah, I would love to. So I kind of already mentioned that following fall semester, after I had this aha moment, just so happened to be in a capstone course, which was the most beautiful thing.
What a neat opportunity.
Yeah, it really was. And I was able to just dive right into the problem and really build kind of bare bones of a business model, which I've not gone back and looked at that schoolwork, but it would probably be pretty funny to just look and see how far off maybe I was and how different it is. But that was really the first exercise and mental exercise that it took for me to evaluate, like, do I want to pursue this? And I would say secondly, I know you kind of mentioned mentor, but I had a couple of really fantastic mentors in university because my challenge was always like, yeah, there's this massive white space opportunity. There's this business model. I'm getting feedback from professors that's really positive that I should actually pursue this idea. And I just never felt like I was equipped. Like, I felt like I needed more education. I needed more experience. I needed all of these things. And I had a dear mentor who really challenged me and just looked me square in the eyes. Dr. Westbrook, I'll never forget. And he just said, Kourtney, the only way to learn to build a business is simply by doing it. And that was so powerful and profound to me because here I was thinking, oh, I've got to go get my MBA, or, oh, I've got to go study business law. I told him one day in class, I was like, Dr. Westbrook, I think I'm going to study business law. I don't want to practice law. I just feel like I really need the knowledge to be able to pursue this. And he was like, whoa, here's the deal. And just his belief in me to get to work and to build this was pretty amazing. And I've had a handful of other mentors along the way, but that was a big step in my self-belief that just I was equipped to start Tinge and to build Tinge. Beyond that, I was connected through my mom actually to a cosmetic chemist, an incredible female cosmetic chemist, actually based here in the state of Oklahoma. And because now I have this business model, I've got some great cheerleaders, and I've kind of started to find self-belief in being able to pursue this. But I was like, I don't have any chemistry experience. I don't know if this is even feasible. It was still very much in idea land. And my mom said, well, hey, I serve on the Girl Scouts board with a woman who's actually a cosmetic chemist. And she was like, it would just be worth having a conversation with her and kind of getting feedback. And so I actually think my mom and I went to that first meeting with her, which is so funny. And I just pitched my idea and asked her to sign, a non-disclosure agreement. And she looked at me and she said, Kourtney, this is absolutely chemically feasible and I want to be a part of helping you do this. And so suddenly that was another open door, and this was all happening my senior year, which really led to like, okay, I kind of feel like I've got to give this a go and pursue it. So that was a massive, like I kind of mentioned, door open. And from there, I decided to not take the traditional career path because I was a graduating senior, and I was like, okay, I really want to pursue Tinge and see where this goes, but I have two choices. I can either really rough it and kind of take oddball jobs but keep my schedule flexible so that I can continue working on Tinge but pay the bills, or two, I can take a corporate job and just do this kind of in my spare time. But I knew myself and I knew that I would get comfortable in a corporate setting. So, and once I had cushy benefits and all of the things, I would never get out. And
the golden handcuffs is what that's called, Kourtney.
Oh my gosh,
but yes.
I love that. I've never heard of that. That's amazing. So I chose not to go that way. I worked oddball jobs at Lululemon here in Tulsa and also worked at a friend's restaurant as a host and server just so I could keep my schedule a bit more flexible. And Oklahoma State had an amazing program at 36 Degrees North and a partnership that allowed me to go to a physical space and have a dedicated workspace and work, day in and day out, which I think now in hindsight, I realize how critical that was in my journey, just to have a place to show up. And there were so many days I had no clue what I was doing, but just putting one foot in front of the other and taking little steps each day really resulted in a big thing eventually. And so once I was in Tulsa after graduation and working these jobs, had a chemist, was able to start product formulation with a chemist. And we went through hundreds of rounds of formulations. I didn't realize how difficult creating a color cosmetic was. It's actually one of the most challenging products to formulate. But because I was naive and didn't have experience, I didn't know that. But we did it and found and landed on a great formula. I had to raise money and raised money a friends and family round, which was really difficult. In the state of Oklahoma, again, you can imagine a young, naive girl, first-time founder, very little experience walking into boardrooms here in the state of Oklahoma with men, primarily investors, and pitching this idea of a body beauty company and body makeup. And I can visualize as I'm speaking the blank stares. And we ended up, though, like I said, receiving so many no's, but finding our people and led us to the right yeses and great investors that really allowed us to bring this thing to life. And we launched in April of 2021 with our first product line, which is the TINGE tint. And that was the tip of the iceberg. So many years of just hard work and grit and not giving up, and so many high highs and low lows in the midst of just getting to market. So that's really the journey in a nutshell.
I love hearing that. This is still a fairly new endeavor. Absolutely. And you mentioned the high highs and the low lows. So if you could share, when I think of a high, you think of a win. If you could share a win, and then I'm going to ask you about maybe sharing a low, which could be in the form of an obstacle, totally, that you had to overcome. But if you could start with the win, the high.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate, like I said, to have lots of both. And one that comes to mind that's more recent is we were one of 10 brands selected out of thousands of applicants for the Target Takeoff Beauty Accelerator, which is, the Target that we all know and love. And that was really just a dream cast out into the universe that happened to come back to us. I remember sitting and logging into the info session for the accelerator before applications opened, and they were talking about the amount of interest and all of these things. And of course, self-doubt creeps in, and it's just should I even apply? But there was something in me that was yeah, apply. You never know if it'll come back to you. And to my surprise, it absolutely did, which I feel was just so validating for me as an individual, but also in regards to what we're doing as a business, to be recognized by one of the biggest retailers, certainly in the United States, but one of the biggest retail names in the world. And over the course of 6 weeks, we got to work with Target executives and build relationships, troubleshoot just our business, and really understand what it would look like to just the hard things and the great things about growing and scaling with a national retail partner like Target, which they've got 2,000 stores. And so it was a really intensive 6 weeks, but so many great learnings and just a pinch me experience all along the way.
Okay, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about high. Okay, low. If you could kind of share something that you have learned, because you said you're hearing no every day, and that can be a lot, and
Totally.
just hearing a no and you're facing an obstacle. If you could kind of share that with us, and then maybe how you've overcome that obstacle.
The first thing that comes to mind, again, we've had so many hard things and low lows, but one of the biggest challenges and setbacks would be just being a female founder raising investment money in this current environment. But certainly even going back a few years and thinking about raising our first round of capital when it was an idea before we even had any product or proof to show. And it was very challenging. And I just think about, again, I'm in Oklahoma. I'm pitching to primarily men this concept of a beauty idea and body makeup at that. And it just seemed to fall on deaf ears more times than not. And with so many quick no's or not interested. And raising money is a really vulnerable experience because it's something, a business is, I like to compare it to like an analogy of a baby. I don't have a child myself. Tinge is the closest thing that I have got to it at this moment in time, but it's a super vulnerable experience because you're basically taking your baby to someone and saying, what do you think? And here I am, this recent college grad with a hope and a dream, and I'm getting told, no, not interested. Even some laughs and scoffs of like, you're so silly. You can read their faces of like, this is never going to work. So that was really, really difficult. But I think what it taught me, and I mentioned this earlier, but those no's really did end up leading to the perfect yeses. It's like you think about it, and when you're raising money, you don't want to have to twist someone's arm to make an investment. You want them to have a deep conviction for your vision and also your ability to execute it. And so I've since tried to shift my mind, even though the no's are still really hard. I try to shift my mindset. More so than just investors choosing me, I also need to be choosing them. Because when the going gets tough, you want somebody on your investment team who's going to pick up the phone at 11 o'clock and roll up their sleeves and help you solve those problems. And so I think I've learned through it, just it's less about the money and more about who you're taking the money from. I listened to a podcast recently, and it was for entrepreneurs, particularly female entrepreneurs raising money. They talked about finding investors that love you more than they love their money. And I thought that was so insightful and so profound, and is a really, really difficult thing to do. I think about it, and that's hard for me to even wrap my mind around because that's our treasure. But when those no's lead you to the yeses, those are really the people that either one, love and can see your potential, or also the potential in your idea, and they want to back you. And so it just makes it all the more rewarding when you find those right investors.
I think you're smart to do that too. The people that have the buy-in, that believe in you and that idea wholeheartedly, and they can see, what a tenacious worker you are, and you have that focus and that drive. And so it's like a partnership.
Absolutely.
When you're accepting their money, you do want to make sure that it's good both ways.
Definitely. And I think there are moments where it's just like, I'd take any money that I could get at this point in time. But it's really amazing to just see the personal lessons I've learned and how much more I've discovered about myself in the process of fundraising. And like I said, particularly as a female founder raising for a beauty company, and where I am in the state of Oklahoma, and of course beyond since, but is really, really tough.
Can you imagine back in college that you'd be where you are right now? No. Not at all. Okay.
And I really, like I said, I didn't see that I would ever become an entrepreneur. When I first started studying entrepreneurship, because I tell so many people, even an investment pitch, kind of sharing my background and what I studied, they're like, oh, it makes sense that you would do this. But it really, in my mind, when I studied entrepreneurship, was truly meant to be a starting point, and I didn't expect that I would actually ever become an entrepreneur. But it's been so amazing to just learn. And I think most of the byproduct of where we are today really has been because I've continued to stay close to that curious nature and lean into those really challenging moments. And now, though, I'm so bought into and have such a deep conviction in what we're building at Tinge and our mission that it's going to be so tough to knock me off. So I'm the jockey that you want to bet on. And I think it's cool talking about investment because it's relationship building. And of course, friends and family, like, maybe can see that and know that about me, but you really have to build that relationship with new investors so that they can know and believe in you in these very early days.
You have the same kind of drive in my mind. I follow Jamie Kern Lima on
her.
Instagram, and her attitude and just her conviction and her belief in her product and herself. You have that same magic about you.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much. That's like the highest compliment
I
could ever receive because she is one person, which I'll just speak it out to the world, that I would love to cross paths with, and certainly would be like a dream mentor,
Let's
investor.
make that happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to tag Jamie currently on my
We can do it. She is amazing. And I think one thing, I love her book, Believe It. Have you read it? Oh my gosh. Just so powerful. And to see how close she was to going bankrupt with the brand before she hit her big break with QVC. And she just talks about, very few orders a week. And I think it's so easy to see the big acquisitions. Like It Cosmetics was acquired for, I want to say $1.8 billion. But just because she was able to write so detailed in her book, her journey, and really documented those high highs and low lows, I think she's helped so many founders and people in general more than she can even realize. So it's powerful.
Yeah. We're going to speak it into existence.
But
I do believe that you're going to meet her someday.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yeah. And I hope for you that you do, but I just feel like your trajectory of where you're going and people that you're meeting and things that are happening for you, I do think you're going to meet her. So
thank you so much. I'm going to embrace that. I appreciate it.
Yes. Okay. So do you want to share a little bit about where you currently are with your business, maybe the stage of development, and then where Tinge is heading?
Absolutely. So we are still very young. I think it's so funny because so many brands that I even buy to now, I've realized like everybody appears to be so much further along than they actually are. But we are just about a year and a half old since we technically launched our first product out into the world. But we have 2023 is going to be a massive year of growth for Tinge. And we've got some exciting launches in store that we're really going to be evolving our product assortment and really creating, and changing the way that you care for your body forever. And we're so excited to get those out into the world. We also just welcomed a new CMO and head of growth to the team. And so ultimately, I think this year, because we are still so young and we're focusing on our direct-to-consumer business primarily, but we're just hopeful and excited to get our products into the hands and on the bodies of more people. Because there's a big pillar of brand awareness that's so vital to sustainable brand success. And we're certainly still in those early growth brand awareness realm. And so we're excited to have our new CMO and head of growth on board and to be tackling that together this year alongside some exciting new launches this spring and summer.
I can't believe how much you've grown in just a year and a half. I mean, just since you launched your product. I know before all of the R&D and, a lot leading up to that, but it really is incredible what you've done in a short amount of time.
Thank you so much. And what a year and a half for everybody.
True.
Just to be building a business. I say if anybody can be building a business and in this environment, you can do most anything. And so we certainly hope to be one that comes out on the other side of this recession and just, of course, the pandemic. We faced so many supply chain challenges, which that was the case across so many industries. But again, you're like, I'm not the only person in this that's experiencing these things, and kind of having that rallying cry of there are other entrepreneurs who have massive visions and who are working so hard to bring something to life just like me. And whether they vocalize it or not, they're having a lot of high highs and low lows too. So it's nice. And I've been fortunate with surrounding myself with people like you, Amy Siegfried, our mutual friend. And I think that's so critical in the journey to really stay in it, is just to surround yourself with like-minded people who also have ambitious goals and are working on a daily basis to reach those goals.
I wholeheartedly agree. I'm so glad that we had that connection that Amy made for us,
Me too.
because it's been fun getting to know you and then hearing your story along the way. And you're even so much further than you were before when we initially started talking. So yeah, I can't wait to see what 2023 brings.
Thank you so
for
much.
you and for Tinge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, so in wrapping up, my theme for 2023 is live purposefully in 2023. And I wanted to ask you about how you are living purposefully.
I love that so much. And I really identify so closely with the brand. So I'll kind of speak on behalf of myself and also the brand. My friends laugh and say, like, you speak Tinge and Tinge speaks you. So from a brand perspective, we have kind of a mission and vision of confidence being our brand catalyst and body positivity being our native language. So there are so many beauty brands out in the world today that create amazing products but don't stand for much more than that. And we are really wanting to take and just rewrite what we say the rules of beauty. So our vision is to really take and exist to take beauty beyond. And so we're intentionally doing this by elevating choice and confidence and individuality, recognizing that even after products are washed away, whether it be skincare or makeup products, the goal is that each individual that comes into frequency with our brands, whether that be on social or whether they've tried and used our products, is really left feeling more confident and more beautiful in the skin that they're in. So we want to build and shape an industry that we want not only for ourselves, but for future generations. And with that in mind, we're so particular about the way that we show up, not only from a product capacity, but also how we speak, how we write our copy. So one thing that we do is we thoughtfully avoid language that implies you should look any different than the way that you feel most beautiful or most confident. So you won't find words like perfection, imperfection, flawless on any of our products, on any of our copy or promotion. To us, those don't exist in our dictionary. And we, because of that, are really thoughtfully and carefully treating body beauty as both a mental and physical matter. Because I believe, and I've recognized, wait a second, why do I believe this about myself? And I'm like, maybe it's the years of like not even recognizing in the moment, but reading this product copy and seeing words like flawless and perfection and imperfections and just kind of taking that on because it's what it's always been. And so I love that we're tackling beauty and rewriting the rules of beauty from both a mental and physical matter. It's big work and even larger vision, but I feel so lucky to be behind it and in the driver's seat with my hands on the wheel. And it's been the most gratifying work over the last year to see customers and people that are coming into contact with our brand really pick those things up and recognize that we're different in that way. It's been so neat.
I love what you said. I love that you're redefining this space and even the terminology that is used related to beauty. Yeah.
So important.
It's so important. And you're recognizing that and moving forward. So that's creating a whole nother vision for people.
Totally.
So yeah. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for visiting with me today. I have had so much fun talking to you.
Likewise. Just so enjoyed our conversation and love that we had so much great conversation even before we started recording. So would love to do it again.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for having me.
Yes, well, thank you. Okay, everybody, that's a wrap on this week's episode. I want to thank you for listening to the Sharing Passion and Purpose podcast. It means the world to me, and I'd love to connect with you. Please follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Sharing Passion and Purpose, and Twitter at Passion Sharing. Also, if you like this podcast, it would mean a lot to me for you to subscribe, rate, and review it. And as always, all my show notes will be available on my website, sharingpassionandpurpose.com.